YouTube channel. This story is about Mr. Perfect. It was a perfect summer day. And on this perfect summer day, Mr. Perfect was looking even more perfect than usual. He didn't have a hair out of place. Mr. Perfect lived in Tip Top College. And on this summer's day, in his house was also looking even more perfect than usual. Not a certain out of place. I suppose you're wondering why Tip Top College was looking so perfect. I shall tell you. It was Mr. Perfect's birthday and he was going to have a party. There was a knock at the door. "Perfect!" cried Mr. Perfect. "How very kind of you," he said when he saw all his guests had bought wonderful looking presents. "Please do come in, and if no one minds, we'll open presents later." Nobody minded, at least. Well, almost nobody. "What's that?" roared Mr. Uppity. I don't have any time to waste, you know. You'd better make sure we don't get bored today. Do you think that upset Mr. Perfect? Of course not. Mr. Perfect had perfect manners, unlike would Mr. Happy. "Oh no, my dear Mr. Uppity, we shan't be bored today," he replied. "First of all, we shall dance." Everybody danced, even Mr. Uppity. Although he danced, Mr. Uppity couldn't manage a smile. Unfortunately, Mr. Clumsy being his clumsy self and broke a pile of plates. Don't you think that upset Mr. Perfect? Not at all. "Don't worry, Mr. Clumsy," said Mr. Perfect, and being the perfect person he was, and not in the least bit clumsy, he produced a whole lot more plates, made out of cardboard. Then he brought in a cake. It was huge. It looked wonderful. It smelled terrific, and Mr. Greedy thought it tasted delicious. He gobbled it up, the whole cake, in 3 seconds flat. There wasn't a crumb left for anybody else. Don't you think that upset Mr. Perfect? Not in the least. Being perfect, he had already guessed what would happen. Quickly, he brought out lots of small cakes. There were plenty for everybody, even Mr. Perfect. But as he was not greedy, he only ate one. One cake was just perfect for him. Once everything had been eaten, Mr. Perfect opened his present. He said as many thank yous as there were presents. "Well, not quite. How about my present?" cried Mr. Mean. Mr. Mean's parcel was so small that Mr. Perfect had not seen it. Mr. Perfect opened the tiny parcel wrapped in newspaper. "Oh, Mr. Mean," said Mr. Perfect, "you've given me a lump of coal." "How delightful of you." "I'd have known I'd only have given him half a lump," grumbled Mr. Mean. had enough, cried Mr. Uppity suddenly. I'm fed up with you, Mr. Perfect. And do you know why? I tell you, I discovered there's the most enormous, unbearable, expectant fault with you. What would you be so kind to tell me what it might be? Asked Mr. Perfect. Polite as ever. You don't understand, cried Mr. Uppity. Your fault is you don't have any faults. That's the end of the story. Be sure to like and subscribe. Thank you.